Goodbye, coach.
Look at the differences in damage. Can you believe that these are one difficulty setting apart? Left 4 Dead 2 difficulty settings are nonsense. The jump from advanced to expert is such a big gap in skill that it may as well be as big as the Grand Canyon, which is weird coming from such a casual game. From easy to advanced, the game does not ease you into the ass whooping that expert has in store for you. Let's highlight major differences from expert from the other difficulties. The tank one-shots you in expert, and he can pummel you in about 3 hits. The witch one-shots you. Comets now do 20 damage, 10 when hit in the back. They're also more durable. Special infected scratches now really pack a punch. A prime example is a hunter, which for whatever reason does 40 damage health points. The director is now more aggressive. He spawns more random hordes, special infected, and witches, and now there's almost a guaranteed reign of tank on expert. Friendly fire. Expert difficulty poses a problem that's basically ignored from advanced to easy. In easy, you don't even do friendly fire damage. And in normal, it's so negligible that it may as well not even be there. And advanced still isn't really that bad. Expert now gives your teammates the power to end your run instantly. 90% of the time you cannot run expert in a public lobby, because that'll result in someone joining and shooting every teammate in sight. Playing on expert with the Left 4 Dead 2 community is just a troll waiting to happen. It's honestly the biggest issue with the difficulty setting. You need friends to play expert. Hell, even the wiki recommends a full ass 4-man party to play expert. All I gotta say is good luck trying to find 3 willing players to play expert, and good luck trying to play expert alone. It took me over 200 custom map playthroughs to get used to the clowny bots, and to get good enough to solo all those horrific maps. And if you ask me if that was worth it just to get used to the difficulty, honestly I wouldn't have an answer. In fact, I think the 3 other difficulties introduce bad habits when it comes to friendly fire. Even if someone were to point blank friendly fire you with a shotgun, you will still be in green HP compared to expert where you could get 1 to 0. Such a sudden responsibility is thrown in your hands and your teammates' hands. Your friend can down you in an instant. In versus, people friendly fire so much that you hear the friendly fire lines every 5 seconds. And yes, advanced, you do a decent amount of damage, not enough to prepare you for expert difficulty. It's just such a strange jump. We went from slapping your friend's new haircut to pummeling their skulls with shells.
What the hell, man?
The director no longer tolerates your lone wolf mentality. The moment you separate an expert, the director throws everything at you. By everything, I mean the jockey. Get it up! The tank is a guarantee for breezing through a chapter, and hordes, you can just forget about it. Sometimes the game will spawn all 3 at the same time if you're separated. All I know is that the director really treats separating the same as committing mass murder. You should be punished to the highest bidder. This big change in the director actually happens in advance, but it's only an expert where the damage bonuses against you really shows. The hordes that spawn before your eyes can down you in a second. I won't deny that this is mostly a custom map issue, since in the original campaigns you know what to expect. No matter what difficulty, getting caught by a special infected is bad, but only an expert punishes you even if you end up shoving the special infected when they're attacking you. If this happens in the other difficulties, none do as much damage as an expert. The special infected aggression is on a whole new level, mixed with the fact that they could do insane damage with scratching. The tank and witch are now a major threat. You can still crown the witch, but if you don't, she'll insta-kill you, meaning the little help that your AI companions can provide will now be gone by the witch. Since the bots seem to always aggro the witch, the tank can no longer be dealt within 10 seconds, not without tier 2 weapons and space. The tank can end your run instantly. All it takes, a little bit of bad luck. The tank now has 8,000 health points. That's an extra 200 health points than what you have in Versus. Without space, the tank is a threat and will take time to deal with. And in no other difficulty can the tank's punch be so devastating that it one-shots you. But at the same time, can no longer be launched by the tank's punch. Which must mean that the tank has more power, less kick? I don't know how that makes any sense. The moment that there's more than one tank and there is no Molotov, it's basically game over. Not to mention, if there's special infected and commons with that tank, you'd be even more screwed. By far the biggest change that comes with the enormous gap in difficulty is the common infected. Holy moly, what, did the common infected start freaking juicing? They hit so hard they put Little Mac to shame. 20 damage points per hit means it takes 5 hits by a common infected to go down, and 10 points if you're facing away from a common. But most of the time, that rarely even happens. And before you know it, a horde downs you in less than a second. This is the biggest difficulty spike between expert and the other difficulties. The common infected in easy can basically be one-shotted by any weapon. Normal is the same. Advanced, they become two-shottable. I've already done most of the damage comparisons in my expert realism video to highlight that most tier 1 weapons no longer do the same damage as before. Tier 2 is mostly the same. Common infected on their own aren't the problem. It's when the game mixes everything at once is where things become a problem. They almost always provide a valid distraction from the real problem. Mix the common infected with a tank and now we're really in for an ass whooping. Again, why doesn't the game prepare you for this? Why is it such a sudden jump? Honestly, I'm not sure. Custom maps completely change when played on expert. On top of that, they're never even made with expert in mind, and for good reason. Why balance something for a difficulty only a small percentage of the player base actually plays in? And why should the player base try expert if there's obviously a universal gap jump between them? With that being said, most custom campaigns are extremely difficult on expert, and if there's one thing I have, it's extensive experience on custom maps. I've read countless forums and comments on our own videos of map creators explaining how difficult things are to balance on expert difficulty. I agree, difficulties from advanced to easy are quite similar, so when you balance it around those 3 difficulties, you kill 3 birds 1 stone. Then map creators have that last difficulty that's just so disconnected from the prior difficulties that it may as well be another game mode. Expert is not only a pain in the ass for casual players, but even for experienced map creators. We gotta talk about the weirdest difficulty in the game. Most people run this game on normal difficulty, even the newest of the new players. But I've yet to hear anyone who's played on easy difficulty, like genuinely. All infected now take 2 times the damage from all weapons. Tanks die as fast as the chargers, and you can't do friendly fire damage. Making grenade launchers really good. Yeah, that's right, explosives don't even do friendly fire damage, but things like the Molotov still damage your teammates. The Witch is a joke, and the other special infected's damage is half. This difficulty has its place. For people who live in rural areas, no internet, and it's the first time touching a keyboard and mouse. That being said, the transition to this to normal, in my opinion, is still better than the transition from advanced to expert, due to the numbers barely being changed. Let's use friendly fire as an example. On easy, the survivors have become so much stronger than the infected that they have transcended the ability to take damage from gunfire. Normal barely does any damage. Advanced, survivors slightly feel it. An expert is like real life. The special infected aggression has also been toned down. Easy really doesn't have much to it. I remember my friend saying something that stuck with me when we played easy. It's for game journalists. In my own opinion, if you could play normal, then in a few months time you will be able to play advanced difficulty. Yes, the tank's health is multiplied, but the weapons you use still shred him. There's still room for mistake, and there's a chance of you surviving even after you get punched by the tank. The Witch doesn't instantly kill you. The obstacles that the game has have been buffed, but not juiced up to the point where you can't recognize who you're facing before. The common infected didn't go from going to the gym 3 times a week to a pro strongman. Normal to advanced is a good transition. It's advanced to where the game director changes, but you don't really notice it due to all the infected not hitting like Mini Mike Tyson. The friendly fire is a lot more damaging, but nothing so punishing that it'll use up an entire medkit. When you compare normal to advanced to expert, it's jarring, almost uncharacteristically for such a casual based game. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with expert. I think expert is perfectly balanced. Hell, most of my hours have been spent in expert mode, but we cannot deny that the mode prior to this has nothing on what expert is. I've said it so many times before, all of us and you watching this video have forgotten what it's like to experience Left 4 Dead 2 in expert mode. Hell, I'd do anything to experience that shock and awe moment that I had when I played expert. It was kind of like a wake-up call to what would happen in real life if there was something like the green flu that were to break out. I think Expert is a vital part of Left 4 Dead 2, and as crazy as it sounds, it was how Valve truly wanted the game to be played. In no other difficulty are you forced to trust your teammates as much as in an Expert mode.
You'll be jetting too.
No other difficulty is separating so devastatingly fast to die. This is what Left 4 Dead 2 is about. Hard situations, bad luck, survival, and teamwork, making the best out of bad situations. The tank is now a threat. The witch destroys your bots, and the common infected can mess you up out of nowhere. The friendly fire that I stated being a gaping flaw in the beginning has now become what makes Expert so special. The fact that anybody in any moment can decide to gun down his entire team is pretty freaking intense. The trust you have to have in this mode is what makes Left 4 Dead 2's team-based gameplay so special. You can kinda do the same thing in Vermintide, but only with one career. There's also a few other examples of that type of friendly fire. Most examples that I've seen are in PvP rather than PvE. The things I stated in the whole video, the common infected damage, the changes in how the director works, the friendly fire damage, the special infected are not the problem. The problem with Expert is that there's no other difficulty to bridge that gap. So if you think I'm saying that Expert is too hard or it's the problem, then you're wrong. I'm saying that we need something to bridge that gap. Something to stop this difficulty from being gatekept by its own challenges. And honestly, I can give a million ideas, but I myself don't believe I'm qualified to answer that question with confidence.
Saying he had to go on and die.
That was
That's
you.
some bullshit.
No.
You backed up.